Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Please ensure to like, share, and subscribe. And also click the bell notification in the top right-hand corner to be made aware anytime I upload tutorials or videos to YouTube. All right, let's craft together. Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you a few features inside Cricut Design Space and how to use those features. The first few features I'm going to point out and how to use in Cricut Design Space is your weld, your flatten, and also the attach functionality inside Cricut Design Space. So here I am inside Cricut, and I have a name here on my screen on my canvas, and it's Candoris. Okay. Actually, before I show you this, I'm going to delete this and I'm going to come back to it. One of the first things I want to show you is inside Cricut Design Space, when you have a blank canvas like this, if you want the grid that will help you with alignment with your images and your text, then what you can do is you have a 0 and a 0 here. And in between those two zeros is just a little open box here, or open space here on the left-hand side of your screen. It's actually right up under the undo functionality, or the undo icon in Cricut Design Space. There's just a little open space there between these two zeros on the left-hand side. If you click that one time, it's going to give you a grid. And again, the grid is just to help you with alignment inside Cricut Design Space. If that grid is too large and you need to work with smaller lines, then you just click that open space one more time, and then it's going to give you the smaller grid lines. Okay. If you don't want grid lines at all, you click that space again, and it's going to remove. I actually hit something wrong. You hit that space again, and it's going to remove the grid lines. So you hit it the first time, it's going to give you the large grid lines. Second time, smaller grid lines. Third time, it's going to take you back to just a blank canvas inside Cricut Design Space. So that's one of the questions I get asked a lot, is how do you remove the grid lines, or how do you add the grid lines? And so that's that. The next thing I'm going to be showing you is using the weld functionality. Now, your weld functionality is basically where you want to bring all of your text or your images together, so you join them. Okay, so you can see here I have the name Candoris. Well, it doesn't work for me to weld this together because Cricut is still going to cut out each letter separately, individually. In order to use the weld functionality, which is here on the bottom right, in order to use that, you want to make sure your letters or your images are touching. Okay, so they have to be touching in order to weld. So a lot of the fonts inside Cricut Design Space already have what we call a weld functionality already attached, because they are already connected. But if not, what you can do is, you want to use a font. More than likely, it's better to use one that is kind of like a cursive font. So I'm going to change my font here, and I'm going to go with, I'm going to try something kind of cute. Let's go with the DTC Summer Solstice and see what that looks like. No, don't like it. It looked a little bit more cursive here on my screen, so I'm going to change it. Let's just do it quickly, Doris. Let's go with Fantastic Reason. Okay, so here we have the name Candoris. Okay, And if I wanted to weld this together so that it actually cuts out one continuous name, Candoris, instead of the name and each letter separate, that is not connected. So basically what will happen, I'm going to ungroup this for a second and I'm going to show you what will happen. Cricut would cut out the C, then it would cut out the A, the N, the D, the O, the R, the I, and S. It would cut it out all separately. What you want to happen, because depending on what type of project you're working with, you may not want that to happen. So, in essence, what you want to do with the Weld functionality is you want to have the letters where they're touching. Okay, so they have to be somewhat touching. Now, you don't want them to overlap, but you just want them to be barely touching, barely touching. And see, this one is not going to look nice. So I may have to change this font, but I just want you to get the meaning of what I'm saying. So you want your letters to be touching, because what you want to happen is you want Cricut to cut everything so that once it's done, it's just one piece, a continuous word or a continuous name or a continuous image without any breaks, so that you don't have to place letters or images separately. Okay. So I'm going to go on here just for a second and let me get a better font for us to work with so that it will make more sense, because that R and that I doesn't look right together like that. So let's try. This Great Vibes has a lot of curves in it. Okay, so like here we have Candoris. Okay, now remember I said that there are some fonts that are already pretty much connected, and all it would take for you to do is just to weld this. Okay, and that means that what Cricut will do is it's going to cut it out in one continuous word or letter. Okay, not letter, but one continuous name or one continuous word without any breaks in it. So that when you want to, let's say, put this on the wall, it's just going to have one long strip, Candoris. Okay, instead of you having to lay the C by itself, then you got to put the A, and what's going to end up happening is you may not get it aligned correctly. Okay, so if I take this and I change the colors, just so you can see it better, and I come down and I click on Weld, what's going to happen is Cricut again is going to cut this out in one continuous swoop. Now, what some people will say is, you notice here on the S, it colored in the inside of the S, and we don't want that to happen. Now, normally once you weld, it's permanent. You can't undo it. You have to start over. I'm going to attempt it to see what happens. So basically what you want to do when that happens, you don't want to lose the inside. You don't want to lose the inside of your S. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to ungroup this text. And I'm going to take this S and I'm going to move it over just a tad bit so that it's still touching, but it's not merged into the I. And we're going to try that and see if that will take care of the weld taking the inside of our S, because we still want the inside of the S to go away. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to now click on Weld. And you see how we now have one continuous word and we still have that S open. If that S, or if any of your letters are merged too close together, what Cricut will do is it won't give you the inside cut out. It'll just be the A, and this space right here will not exist. It'll be just all orange. The D would be without the D opening here. So anytime you weld and you notice that there's your opening of your letter is missing, then you want to ungroup it or unweld. You want to try to unweld. If you can't unweld, then you have to start over, or undo the weld, and then ungroup the letters and move them over just a tad bit. So this is still touching, but it's not completely merged into the eye. Okay, so I'm going to show you that one more time. I'm going to type a name. And I know I just typed my name, but Cricut is acting up. Okay, so this looks like it's a great candidate for welding. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate it so you can see the difference here. So this S is merged too close to the I. And you can tell that because what's going to happen is, instead of you having this open space here for your S, when I weld it, because these two letters are touching, they're too close together, Cricut is going to cancel out the inside of my S. So the S would just print one big, or cut around this big part, but it would not have our opening. So I'm going to weld it so you can see. And you see how we lost our opening on our S. Everything else is fine. So what you would do in that case, when you're using weld, because remember, everything has to be touching, not completely merged, but just touching. So I'm going to I'm going to ungroup. And what I'm going to do is just move this S over just a tad bit. You can see how that S was all up in that I. It's like all up in my business. So what we're going to do is we're still going to have it to touch, but barely. So we're not going to put it all up in the eye like it was touching. We're going to have it touching, but not married to the eye. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and highlight it and group it back together. And I'm going to make it bigger just to make sure I see it touching. Yep, it's touching. So now when I weld, you see how I still have my opening for my S. So a lot of times when you get a situation like that where your letters are too close, Cricut is going to cancel out your openings. You want to ungroup and move those letters over just a little bit where they're still barely touching, but not fully connected to the previous letter, or the letter sitting directly to its left or to its right, whatever the case may be. So that's the way you weld. You want to weld so that when you cut this out, or Cricut cuts this out, it's going to cut this out as a continuous name and not individual letters. Okay, that is the purpose of your weld. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to use attach and why you would use attach. So let's say I come in, I put the name Candoris. Okay, right now when you look over to the right, it tells you that this is a basic cut. Okay, so that means that Cricut is not going to be sending anything to your printer. They're just going to cut out the letters. That's it, because it's a basic cut. Okay, when you click on Make It, you haven't clicked on anything else. When you click on Make It, what's going to happen on your next screen is you see your letters here. Everything is in order, and Cricut is going to do just a basic cut. It's going to cut it out just like you see it here on your imaginary mat. Okay, so what happens, I'm going to cancel out. What happens is when I go here and I click on Attach, it's now going to take this and it would line it up for me. It's still going to be a basic cut, but it would line it up for me. Now this font is already lined up, so it's not a big issue, but I'm going to put another font on here so you can see the difference. So I'm going to try a different font here. Okay. So let's say we have Candoris, and I'm just going to put Edwards instead of Candoris again. Okay, so let's say that I want to make this a sign to say Candoris Edwards. Okay, So I have a basic cut and a basic cut. Looks great. I want Candoras on the top, Edwards on the bottom. What's going to happen is when I click on Make It, it's going to place them side by side. And that's not what I want. So I don't want to have to line this up. After Cricut cuts it out, all I want to do is take away the excess vinyl and go ahead and apply it to whatever I'm going to apply it to. So if you do not click on attach, it's not going to line up these together. Now I'm going to show you what happens. If I go back and I highlight them both together, and all I did was just clicked in the open white space, highlighted Candoras and Edwards, and clicked on Make It. Excuse me, not click on Make It. Went too fast, got ahead of myself there. But you're going to cancel that. So what you're going to do is you're going to highlight them both and click on Attach. They're still basic cuts, but now when you go to Make It, Cricut is going to line it up just like you have it on your canvas. Okay? So that's the purpose of using the attach, is so that however you have it aligned on your mat, or aligned on your canvas, you want it to cut out that way. You want Cricut to cut it out the exact same way. Okay? And then the last feature I'm going to show you, now that I've shown you the way to actually add your grid lines and to remove your grid lines, how to weld and why you weld, and how to attach. Now I'm going to show you, if you made a mistake and you did not mean to attach this, or you wanted to attach more, you just highlight it, and it's already highlighted here, but you just click it and then you just click on detach. So once you attach something, after you attach it, it's going to change the word from attach to detach, so that you can detach it if necessary. So now if I click on detach, now it's no longer what we considered aligned together or grouped together. And so now if I go and I click on Make It, they're going to jump side by side instead of Candoras on the top and Edwards on the bottom. Okay, so that's the purpose of attach. The next thing I'm going to show you is using the flatten, and why you would use flatten. So again, I'm going to put my name, and right now this is on a basic cut. Okay, if I don't want this to be a cut, what I could do is I could come here and say flatten, and it's going to change it to a print then cut. So basically what I'm saying is I want Cricut to send this to my printer. My printer is going to print it out, and then I'm going to take it and put it in my cutting machine, and my cutting machine is going to cut it out. Now, in most cases, this is normally something that you've done, like you're doing some type of fabric transfer. This is not something that I would use for vinyl, because vinyl is, unless you're using a printable vinyl. But if it's not a printable vinyl, then this is not a functionality that I would use with print then cut or print then cut for. Because if you're using vinyl and you just want Cricut to cut the vinyl already has color to it, and sending it to your printer is not going to work, because you can't put just regular vinyl into your printer, but you can put printable vinyl into your printer. So if you're using printable vinyl, yes. You're using fabric transfers, yes. If you're just using cardstock for a greeting card or something like that, yes. But if it's just regular permanent or removable vinyl, then no. Okay. Now there is another way to get around this also, and we'll talk about that in a different video, but I just wanted to show you the basic reasons that you would use your attach, your flatten, and your welding, and how to remove those grid lines in this tutorial, because I don't want to make it excessively long. But I do want to tell you that when you do this, when you use flatten, you're going to be limited as far as sizing. So the largest that you're going to be able to send to your printer is 6.75 by 9.25. And you don't have to remember that sizing, because if you make it too large for Cricut to send it to your printer, you're going to get this little alert here. And when you click on that, it's going to tell you the size cannot exceed 6.75 by 9.25. So if I click on make it, it's not going to do anything. It's going to tell me my project is incompatible. I hit OK, and then I'm going to have to take this down until this goes away. So I just drag this in, and you see it's gone. Now when I click on make it, it will now allow me to send this to my printer and then have Cricut to then cut it out after it goes to the printer. And one of the big signs to let you know whether something is going to go to your printer, anything that's going to be sent to your printer is going to have this registration mark around it. This black line that you see going all around my name here, that's a registration mark. That is an indication to Cricut that this is a print and then cut project. Without this line around here, that is a cut project, not a print project. So that's one of the key clues that you'll look for to know that you have a print then cut if that was your ultimate goal. If not, then you don't want this registration mark around. All right. All right, guys, so that is how you use attach, weld, flatten, and also how you can go and add the grid lines to your canvas. If you have any additional questions and need help with anything outside of those three things, then please reach out in the comments, leave me a comment, and I will respond to all comments. And I want to thank you guys that are currently in my Facebook group, Candors's Cricut and Creative Crafters. Thank you guys so much for being members in my group. If you are not a member and you would like to join us, just send me a Facebook group request to Candors's Cricut and Creative Crafters. And if you're currently subscribed to my YouTube channel, thank you guys so much for supporting me via YouTube. And if not, and it's the first time you're seeing me and you like my method of teaching, then please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. All right. And as always, guys, my motto is each one reach one so that each one can teach one. I've eaten too much food today, and it's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. All right, guys, have a great night.